Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode of Sit, Sip, and Synapse. I am super excited for you guys to see today's episode. We have a special guest, Khadidja. She's a 28-year-old living with Osteogenesis Imperfecta type 3. She is a PhD candidate in clinical psychology at EDM, and she has an immense passion for traveling. Thank you so much, Khadidja, for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm super excited. So usually how I start this off is I have you guys explain kind of the condition to people that may not be aware of what it is.
Okay, perfect. I have osteogenesis imperfecta, as you mentioned. I was born with it, and what it entails mainly is that I have fragile bones, so they are very brittle. I had over 100 fractures, maybe, and at least 22 surgeries. That's what they say. I don't know the exact number because I got surgery all around the world. And most of the surgeries that I got were to put rods in my bones to straighten them so they are less breakable. I also had a treatment at the Shriners Hospital for Children Canada. That's the official title. Since I was, I think, 3 years old. And it was an IV that I got every 3 to 4 months for 3 days. And it really helped straighten my bones. When I was young, I used to fracture just sursauter. Like
Yeah.
if I was scared of something, I was sursauter, and then I will break a bone. My parents were afraid to lift me, so they use something else so they don't do any the mouvement brusque.
Yeah, sudden movements. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But now I'm way, way, way better than I used to be because the bone density reaches a plateau in a sense during adulthood, and then it will decrease again after menopause. So for now, I should be okay, but I'm still at risk of other complications because it has to do with the type 1 collagen, which is found everywhere in the body. So I can develop pulmonary problems, cardiac ones, hearing loss, stuff like that. But so far, so good. I don't have any of these. But I do use a wheelchair to get around mostly.
Wow, it's incredible. Thank you for that. And just seeing the energy and the vibe and the positivity you emanate, I can never tell, that you went through 100 surgeries and like all these fractures. Sorry, 100 fractures and 22 surgeries in reverse order. Really incredible. So you said you had this from birth. Like, how has this impacted your life? Because evidently it's caused a lot of like visits to the hospital and a lot of changes in your life. Like, how do you feel that has impacted like your upbringing and just like everything you got to do or didn't get to do?
I'm really, really, really fortunate. Like, I know that I'm privileged in the situation that I'm living in because I have such a supportive family. I'm really someone that really likes to talk a lot. So, as you may have noticed by now, so I was always well surrounded by friends and family. And every time that I went to the hospital, the Shriners one, I loved going there. I know it's really rare that people will say that, but like it for me, it's like a second family. I was always like planning my outfit before going there. The food is really good, which is really odd for a hospital. There was never like a dull moment. And I remember I used to bring my schoolwork with me. There were teachers there, so they will help me with my homework and stuff like that. So I have like, although it was painful at times, I would say like it was always happy. But I think I kept more good memories than bad ones. So for that, it really didn't affect me that much. As I said, I use a wheelchair, so I had to make sure that everywhere I go, it's wheelchair accessible. You cannot really see it through Zoom, but like my height, I
Yeah,
think it's
height, yeah.
it is 1 meter. So I'm really, really small, which is kind of a good thing in my case because usually if I want to go to my bed, to the sofa, from my wheelchair or toilet, like they can lift me, so I'm not that big. What else? Yeah, I was able to pursue higher education, which was a dream of mine. I love traveling, as you said at the beginning. So I don't feel like my disability is a barrier to any goals that I have. I don't feel as if I'm missing out on something. So for that, I think I'm really fortunate.
Honestly, that's inspiring. That is super, super inspiring. Thank you for your like everything, your courage, the strength you have. It's not easy taking such a life changing, drastic thing. It's different. Not everybody can handle it with such strength, because everybody obviously has their own way of experiencing things. And it's just really inspiring seeing how you've changed this into the most positive of experiences. It's not always you hear someone saying that they loved going to the hospital.
I know. That's why, like, I was telling that to my friends. I was like, I've never heard that before, but that's such a good thing. And I'm now working. Oh, I didn't mention that, but I'm working on the surgeries. I've been
Oh, great.
working. I used to work from 2015 to 2019. So for 4 years, I worked as a research assistant. And how it happened is that I did my undergrad at McGill in psychology, and I wanted to get into the PhD program, but I didn't have enough research experience and clinical experience to get into the program. I applied like I think 3 or 4 times to the program, and I was rejected every single time. But then I was volunteering at the hospital, and I met with Arjuit Smith-Callis, who is a research nurse at the hospital, and I was telling her about my education goal, and she was like, "You know what? I'm doing research on OI, Osteogenesis Imperfecta, but I have no idea what it is. So I would like to have a patient on board working with me on this project." And that's how she hired me. We built up my CV together, and I was finally admitted into the program in 2019. And I didn't work for 2 years because I really wanted to focus on my studies, and now for the summer I'm back there, so I really love it. And having the experience, because I used to go there as a patient, but now the doctors are my colleagues, which is kind of weird but so awesome. I remember, I remember what time I had lunch with one of my doctor, and we talked about everything because we usually don't have time to do that. And I emailed him after our lunch. I was like, "I'm so happy we got to do this. It was such an honor for me to have to share this lunch with you." So yeah, even now as an adult, I love going there still. So I think it speaks to how caring and how they can make a difference in a patient life.
Honestly, that is the most unique hospital experience I think I've ever heard.
So if you
Um,
get a chance to do your stage there, go ahead.
I've been once, and I must say their cafeteria food is pretty on point. So,
Woo, right? Yeah.
all right. So, in terms of like your hospitalization, it seems like overall you've had a really good experience. So much so you went back to work with them. Um, but can you think of any times at which you had like a not so great experience, and maybe like discuss that with us if you're open to it?
Yes, of course. I had a scoliosis surgery when I was, oh yeah, between primary school and high school. So between this transition during the summer, and I especially choose to do it during the summer because I didn't want to miss out on school. Because I really, since I'm like, I don't know, since I started school, I really loved going there, and I rather want sorry, I'm looking for, like, j'étais prête à bousiller mon été.
Oh, to like give up your summer for it.
Yes, and not miss school, so I will do the surgery during the summer. So I did the surgery once because it happened twice. I did the surgery once. I think it was a 6 hour surgery, so it was a really, really long surgery. And I walked up. Was it let me remember if it was the first or the second one. I think it was the first one. Because, okay, I did it twice. I can't remember if it was the first time or the second time, but I did it once. And I remember it was such a painful and long surgery. And I woke up from it. I was in so much pain. And then I think I stayed at the hospital for 2 weeks. I went home. A couple of weeks later, I went to my friend's house and we went outside. I was with my manual wheelchair, not a motorized one, and her brother was pushing my wheelchair around, but he had his hands full, and it was raining, so he didn't have a good grip on my wheelchair. Alors la chaise est partie, like ça l'a glissé, it slides from his
Oh my
hands,
God.
and I fell off the ramp. And like the first reflex that you have when you fell off is that you will put your hand to try to not fall. So I broke my arm, and one of the pin in my back got off. So I had to redo the surgery once more. I went to the hospital. I did the surgery. I woke up from crying. And I was like, why do I have osteogenesis imperfecta? I don't deserve that. Like, it was the only time that it happened to me. because I was going to miss out on school because I had to wear a scoliosis, pas scoliosis, sorry, an orthèse, like
yeah, brace the
yeah, from here to I think it was to my knees. Like it really, I was like, there is no way that I'm going with that to school. Like I care about my outfits and stuff, so I was like, I can't find anything to wear in it. So I had teachers that came teaching me at home, like the basic classes, English, French, and what was the other one? Maths. So I had to miss out the first semester of high school, which I was really looking forward to because I did my primary school in a specialized
Mhm.
school with other people having either a physical or intellectual disability. And it was my first experience going to regular high school, and I missed the first semester. So that was, sorry, that was a tough time. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Like, yeah, I'm sorry you went through that. It's definitely not easy. Um, but I'm so happy to see how vibrant and bright you are despite like the struggles you had. It's honestly it makes me so happy. I was just thinking in terms of this is more general, kind of not related, but related. Um, did you have to like navigate through a lot of stigma and misconceptions? Like you did say there was like specialized schooling. Did you feel like there was enough support or resources in general in the community, or did you guys, like you, your family, friends, have to struggle to find these support and resources?
I think, I don't know if it's specific to Quebec, but I feel like here, if you don't ask and look for it, you won't know that it exists. And I find myself always having to be an advocate for my condition, for my needs, and stuff like that. So, yes, I did get the support that I needed, but I had to fight for it. And I had to make sure that I got it. And I think if I think more recently at L'Université de Montréal, they are really, really bad on the accessibility issues. Uh, that was again, it for me the fact that we had to do our classes online was such a good thing because I didn't have to go to l'UDM. I took as many classes as I could. I finished all the requirements, so now I'm only doing my stage. But there, it like the elevator doesn't work sometimes. There are doors every 10 meters. During the winter, oh, that was one big thing. During the winter, the steps were déneigés. What's the
Yeah,
word?
they didn't shovel the stairs where they shoveled the
Yeah,
stairs.
but not the ramp, which doesn't make sense because everyone can use the ramp, but not everyone can use the steps. So now what I did in January, I took a pictures of everything that doesn't work at the university, and wrote an email to one of the, I don't know what's his role, but higher
Someone
up.
up there. Yeah, someone
Yes.
up there.
Yes. And since then, they haven't changed anything. Or even just the sanitizer gel. Like it's either really, really high or you have to use your feet to get some. So, yeah, I'm still coming across some issues and that I have to overcome or fight for it. And it's still in the progress. And I think I will have to do it all my life. But that's the thing. It's my normal life for me. It's not as if I didn't have a disability in the past, so I knew how easy life was. And then I got disabled. I was disabled. It's more like I always had to live with it. So for me, it's my normal way of doing things. So I don't let it discourage me or get down because otherwise I would just stay home and don't do anything. So that's how I try to cope with it.
I find it really unfortunate that like you have to be the one to advocate for it, and inevitably that is how the world and society works. There has to be someone, and usually it's the person that is like living through it in their reality. But it would be beneficial if those of us who don't necessarily have a disability also help. So do you think maybe if we also like, I don't know what it is. I'm just thinking out loud right now, like a petition, just even a small group of students saying, hey, we need to make this more accessible. Do you think that may potentially have a change?
I don't know, to be honest, because I spoke with a few professors there, and they're like, you know what? At every meeting, we try to bring up this issue that it needs to be more wheelchair accessible, and the renting, like it was a big scandal among professors and stuff like that. And I know that just us, like people with disability fighting for our rights, we won't be heard because we're such a small percentage, I think, at UDF, for instance, or any university. So we don't bring them a lot of money, so they don't really care about it. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm mistaken, but that's how I see it. S- But do a petitions changes anything? I don't know, to be honest. Like, I think the money does. And I don't know if they have money for a student with disability, because I know that sometimes the government can help with that. Um, but yeah, I think it's a fight that needs to be fighting together. I don't know
Yeah.
if I can say that.
Yeah, fought
Um,
together. Absolutely.
fought together. Here you
Yeah.
go. Thank you. Uh, and yeah, having the support of my colleagues and friends sure help. One of my friends, that was the thing, because people usually don't think about those things unless they know someone in a wheelchair. And now that I have known someone, they are more aware of these things. And one of them suggested that they could do like a protest with a wheelchair and have it to go around in a wheelchair all day long. And we will be many of us. So they will have to hear us. So I guess in the long term, there is room for it, like to fight for it. But because of COVID, because we are staying more home, it's a little bit hard to group or regroup and try to do something about it. But I'm hopeful, and I'm not even doing this for me because I will be graduating in a few years, but there will be other people that will come next to me. And that's, I was talking to a professor and she said, we didn't realize that there were that many issues before we met you, but now that we know, we have to do better. And I think that's that's the motto, if I can say that. Yeah, that's, like, I'm glad that she was able to notice it and be aware of it and wanting things to change.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We always have opportunities to do better and just be better people and just
Hmm.
make things more accessible to everybody. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
do you find that's a problem? Obviously, this is not a problem isolated to universities particularly. Do you find you have an easier time navigating in the community? I'm not sure if you take, let's say, public transport or whatnot, but do you find those are a little better in terms of accessibility, or is obviously there's always going to be work we need to always do everywhere, but in terms of like, is there particular areas, let's say, that you may find that are slightly better than others, if I can say?
I have a funny story though, because you brought up the transportation aspect, and I have my driver license. I got it, I think, 2 years ago. It was a long run and a lot of work and a lot of issues, but I finally got it. But my parents don't want me to use it because they are afraid that if I get into an accident, I will je vais plus écoper. I will be more injured than the other person. So I have to use le transport adapté. What's
Yeah,
how is
it's
it called?
adapted transports.
Adapted transport. And why I didn't want to use it and why I started my driver license journey, if I can say that, is that it's not that convenient. Okay, I mean, I'm glad that we have it. I won't be complaining because I use it almost every day. But the thing is that I have to book in advance. So I have to know the day before 7 p.m. what I'm doing tomorrow, at what time. They will bring me there, pick me up, which address. And if I want to go to Laval, I think it's 73 days because I live in the South Shore. Like, there are a lot of limitations. But again, like, it could be improved. But like, for instance, if I say, okay, I'm done at 5, let's say I'm done at 5, it's between 5 and 5:30 because there are other people and they can tell me exactly at what time they will be there. But if I'm 5 minutes late, then they will just leave,
Oh,
and I have to wait for them 30 minutes. And for instance, like if they come 15 minutes after la plage horaire, the window time
yeah,
window,
yeah, the window time, yeah.
if they come 15 minutes late, it's not only 15 minutes, it's 45 because I've been waiting for 30 minutes. So you know what I mean? So it's not ideal, but I think it's the best that it can do for now, and eventually maybe they will improve the service. And I know I won't be able to have a chauffeur that I just call, hey, I would like to go there. Please come pick me up. Like, it doesn't work that way. So I think it's the best they could do considering the circumstances. But yeah, other thing. what is not bad? Traveling within Canada is good with Air Canada because the person that come with me doesn't pay her ticket or
Oh,
his ticket, so that's a good thing. But once they lost some piece of my wheelchair, so that wasn't good. Yeah, I think that in every aspects of my life, they are ups and downs, and I just have to deal with it, I guess. But yeah, I don't see them as harder or like for me, it's just like as I said, my regular lifestyle. But I'm still aware that it's not the same for everyone, and that yeah, it makes it harder. Or I need to be more organized. I think that's the thing. I can just like if I want to go somewhere, or if I want to travel, if I want anything, or just to go to a terrace like I'm going just after this interview, I had to call the restaurant, make sure it's wheelchair accessible, and it's just the planning thing. But the good thing is that I think I'm a really organized person, and it transpires in my like the way I study and why I have achieved all these goals. Is that I have a goal in my mind or I have an idea and I try to make it happen, but I make sure that I do it in an orderly way. I like make sure that everything is in order, and je vais prendre d'avance, like I do it in advance.
yeah.
So yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. It's I mean, you found your ways to navigate through all the
exactly.
disadvantages and you became a pro at it, which is not the greatest thing we ask of you. We give you guys all these barriers and like, hey, figure it out. But you did like a pro. But hopefully we work on like making things easier for
Yeah.
people in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a little bit of the fun side. You say you love traveling. You want to talk a little bit about maybe the places you've been to and maybe how it is to travel like in a wheelchair or any type. You don't even need to focus on like the limitations, just in general how it is to travel.
Yeah, I love traveling. I've been to France, Belgium, Turkey, UK, Portugal, Spain, Italy, China, US, obviously, Malta, Algeria, I'm from, Alberta last summer. I'm sure I missed some country, Bulgaria. Yeah, so I really
The list goes on.
and usually I travel with my mom, my family, my sister, or a friend. I don't use my motorized wheelchair. I use the manual one, so it can be folded in any car. Or if there is one or two steps, they can still pick me up. So I try to book an Airbnb um, that there are no steps to get in. What else? What else? What else? Yeah, as I said, I'm really small, so it's easy to pick me up and lift me. So that's a plus. And now what I've learned is that I usually give out like the metal pieces of my wheelchair, so they put it in the suit. But I take the pieces that I have to put back when it's unfolded. So now I bring them with me with the luggage. So I make sure they don't lose it because, as I said one time, they lost all the piece, but they find it at the end. Um, what else do I do for child? I don't know. I don't do much. Recently, I've learned that there is a wheelchair on board, which I didn't know, to go to the bathroom, and it can ça passe entre les bancs
Yeah, it goes between.
seats.
Yeah, between seats. Yeah.
Exactly.
I also lost the words. I was like, what is it?
It goes between seats because before I either try not to go to the toilet or hold it, or if I can, like they will just lift me and bring me there. But it's so tight and so small. But now that I know that there is a wheelchair, it's so much easier um, to get around. What else? I'm trying to think if there's anything I could think of. Um, yeah, I think no, that's pretty much it.
Maybe just to encourage a little thought, like, was there anything that, let's say you went to a country, was there anything you couldn't do because it wasn't accessible, or like, was that not really a problem you came into?
No, there were a few things. In Turkey, there is a thing called a hammam. Do you know what a
Not sure
hammam
what
is?
that is. No.
It's like a sauna, but a really fancy sauna with people that can wash you, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful place, but they didn't allow me to get in because it was wet and slippery. And if my mom had to pick me up, they were afraid that she will fall and I'll break something, and then I will sue them or whatever. So that I wasn't able to do it, but I wanted my mom to do it, so I waited for her inside and like just play with my phone or whatever. What else is it? I don't really like going to the beach because it's usually not wheelchair accessible. Like I will sit on towel on the sand, but like when you sit on the sand, it all gets stuck in you, and then it's hard to wash off because I can't stand. And like I don't really like going to the beach, but I went with one of my friend. Uh, we just seated. She swam. What's the past tense for swim?
Yeah, she swam.
She swims a little bit, but I think for her, she would have enjoyed it more if there was someone with her doing it. Where's there anything else? Yeah, I don't think so. And the people that comes with me, that come with me when I travel, like they know that there are some stuff that we can do, so we won't be looking up for this type of activity. Oh, when I went to Alberta, they did some hiking, which I couldn't do obviously, but I have a friend who lived there, so I spent the afternoon with her while they were hiking, and so it was lovely because I don't see her that often, and when I see her, usually there are people around because like I'll go with my family or whatever. So it was a good afternoon spending with my friend. So yeah, I think there are some stuff that I cannot do, but I always try to do something else. Uh, and so my parents or my brothers or sister can still enjoy their trip while yeah.
This is, it may be a little personal, and feel free to skip the question and say you rather not answer. Um, but is it upsetting, or do you feel like discouraged, or like how do you feel when you come to face these limitations, or these things you can't do, or these things you prevent, like quote unquote prevent others from doing because of the lack of accessibility? How does that make you feel?
That's a really good question. I have to think about it. Uh, for instance, the hiking, there is nothing we can do about it. I mean, it's nature. We can change it. And I knew going there that it was an option for me, and I didn't want to prevent them from doing it. So like I tried to schedule something else in the meantime. So I think it's okay, and it's not like they showed me pictures. I know they were thinking about me a lot. You know, we wish that Khadija was with us. Um, I think no, I don't think I see it in a negative way, in the sense that I'm really lucky to have been there in the first place. There are some people that can't travel for XYZ reason. And I was able to go there. So just for me, I should like I'm grateful for that. And for the other things that I couldn't, I remember the hammam. I really was looking forward to it because it's known for their hammams. And but I understood the rationale and the reasoning behind it. And I would have hated to break something while I'm in another country, because are they aware about why do they know? Because just here in Montreal, I went to another hospital because I broke a bone, and they're like, "Oh, because you have why we don't know what to say. Please go to the children." But I was over 18, and they still took me on because they didn't know. And at the end, I had like two broken bone, and I had to go into surgery the next day. Like, imagine if this happened to me in a foreign country, and with I don't take I don't I do not take an insurance before traveling, which is bad. Don't do it, but I don't. That's a good thing. So yeah, I think yeah. So I think it's okay. Like I know that there are some stuff that I cannot do, and I think I'm okay with it, and I accept it, and I come to it just because it's my reality, and I cannot change it. But the only thing that I can change is how I approach it or how I see it, and I think having a positive lens
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Honestly, that's so incredible. I hope to adopt this really like positivity. I I complain about the littlest things, and this really puts things into perspective. Just like the way you like look at things and perceive things changes everything, right?
Mhm.
And your positivity is like very contagious. So now I'm like, wow, I gotta just accept life for what it gives me.
I'm good then. I'm happy.
um all right, maybe just to like end things off, I was thinking, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done for people with disabilities, and you guys unfortunately face so many barriers
Mhm.
that very little are being done for. So maybe not even just medical students, but any student or any person at all, like what can we do on our behalf to try help like the reality you guys live through, and like how can we advocate to make things better for you guys?
I can tell you a story about that. When I came back from China, I was really sick, so I had to be hospitalized. I went to like an adult hospital, and I had like I
Yeah,
had
the same
gastro,
thing. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
and a doctor came in. She saw me for a few minutes, and then she left. And they came to take me for an X-ray because she saw that I was coughing a lot and wanted to make sure that everything was okay. So they took me to X-ray. I get in, and I was like, "Okay, please, can you stand up here so we can take your X-ray?" I was like, "But I don't walk." And you're like, "Oh, but here it says that you have to stand up for the X-ray." So the doctor came in. She didn't even notice that the wheelchair was in the room because I was in the bed. She didn't ask about my disability. She didn't like, for her it was just, okay, you have gastro, you're coughing, next, and I was like, but I can't stand, like there's no way for me to do it. And like, okay, we try to find another way to do it then. So I think to be curious about the other person's condition and show interest and see how it can affect their health. It may be like mental or physical or just, oh, okay, here I see that you have a Osteogenesis Imperfecta. Is there like anything that we shouldn't do? Or, oh, I was thinking about getting your X-ray. Is it possible for you to stand up? Or just ask, like, obviously when she sees me, she knows that I'm really small, I'm not tall, so there's something wrong with me. So she could have asked even if she didn't see the wheelchair in the room. So I think to show more interest to the patient's story. But I know that you don't have time to do that. I'm well aware. But just, it can take less than a minute. Just like show them that you care and you want their best interest and that you're willing to work with them to see how that can be achieved.
Thank you for that. And I think just to like really reinforce a point, like oftentimes not enough time is thrown out there.
Mhm.
But I don't find that's an excuse. And I think no, that shouldn't be an excuse to not be compassionate, because compassionate and being kind is just like basic traits that anybody should have, whether in or out of the hospital. So
Mhm.
please don't let anybody ever tell you they don't have enough time just to be kind and compassionate. That's
But I'm hopeful for the next generation of doctors.
I hope so too. And I hope everybody listening just like takes that into consideration, just be again, this is kind of like the same thing I kind of echo in every episode, but it's just compassionate. Everybody's reality is different, and just being
Mhm.
open to listening to experiences. Like it goes a long way and it makes a big difference.
Mhm. Mhm.
I guess to end things off, is there anything you want to leave the viewers slash listeners? Any final thoughts?
Hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of things. Okay, let me just organize my thoughts.
No pressure at all. Take your time.
No, but I think like I know that I show really positive life, which is the reality, but it can be struggling in the sense that we shouldn't assume that everyone having a disability is either um feeling down or feeling like, I don't know how to put it, but in a sense that there are obstacles, there are barriers that I have to overcome, and I make it seem as if it was effortless, which I think have become effortless because I have been doing it my whole life. But it will be better if there are no obstacles, no barriers, and another thing I think that, yeah, I can say that to your viewers is that our listeners, are they
Both.
listening or seeing or but I think another thing that I like, okay, there are two things that I really hate. One of them is that when I go outside and there is a kid who is really curious seeing a woman with a wheelchair, but she's small, so they don't know if she's a woman or a girl. Like, they can be really curious and they will approach me. And then the parents will like, no, no, stop. Don't do this. Come here. And I'm like, why? He didn't say anything. He's just like kids are naive, they are spontaneous, and sometimes they will see a woman in a wheelchair for the first time. So I really like talking to them and say, hey, yeah, I don't really walk, so I use this. It's like a car. Like I really love to interact with children. That's why I'm specializing in children and adolescents. So I really hate when they do that because they put the stigma to people with disabilities, as if no, you cannot approach them, you cannot remind them that they are wheelchair, they are different. But the reality is I'm different, and that's okay, we all are. So I don't really mind. But and then when we grow up, it's like, oh no, we shouldn't do that, because we are assuming that, oh, their life is so miserable, like we cannot remind them of that, or I wish I was at their place. But that's not okay. We like lose our naivety, like, uh, you know what I mean, what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say.
absolutely.
So I think it's really okay, and let them approach me, and that's okay, and we can have a conversation, and maybe we'll learn a few things that will carry on through his life. So that was one thing. And the other is that I know that some people will take, like, if they meet someone in a wheelchair that is succeeding in their life, there's always such an inspiration to me. But on the receiving end, when I'm told that I'm an inspiration, I don't know how to feel about that, because I feel like an inspiration is if I'm doing something extraordinary, which I'm not. Because usually the people who would say that to me, they're doing the same things as I'm doing. You know what I mean? So I know that there is a really good TED talk that I can send you to, from someone who has a wife. It happened, like, it wasn't because she had a wife, but the point that she made was really interesting to me. Is that, like, I remember she said that she was receiving an award or something like that. Just like she put it in this way, but it was more funny than, I don't know if it was really because of it, but just for waking up in the morning and coming to school. So for her, it wasn't out of the ordinary. It wasn't like an accomplishment. It was just, yeah, well, everyone goes to school. Why would I? You know. So I see it more this way. In this, like, I know it's a compliment when people tell me that, and that's okay. Like, I'll say, oh, thank you, but I don't see myself as an inspiration. I just see myself living a normal kind of life. Yeah, yeah. I think that's pretty much it.
I think those are really good, two powerful thoughts that even I think I probably said even just during the duration of this conversation. And I apologize if I have used
Okay.
used any of those, but I think those are really two good thoughts to leave on, to end on. And I just want to say thank you so much, Khadija, for sitting with me today to have this conversation. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And once again, thanks for inviting me. I had a blast, and I hope we'll collaborate in the future, maybe.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you.